Hey, what's up, guys? It's another episode of Bill and Tony's Excellent Adventure. He is Bill Althouse. I am Tony Stevens, and we are live from the Sandy's Restaurant Studios in Blue Springs, Missouri. If you're not from Kansas City, that is just outside of Kansas City, a little bit east of Arrowhead Stadium and Kauffman Stadium. Remind you that you can watch all of our full podcast episodes on YouTube and Spotify and Patreon. Also, hook up with us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe, leave comments, and you can also share. We would like that too. We have a special guest today who is a remarkable, trailblazing woman from Kansas City, but she is internationally renowned for her many talents. She is the Reverend Sandra, but we can call her Sandy.
We can call her Sandy
Campbell.
Yes.
So she will be on here in just a little while. It's going to be a great conversation. We're really looking forward to that. So we start off with the sports hot topics of the week, as we do every week. Chiefs made some news today, actually, Billy.
More than news. I mean, they parted the Red Sea today.
They did, because they parted ways with the guy we knew they were going to, Jawan Taylor, who was, really, in all honesty, was a pretty good right tackle. But he led the league in penalties for the last 3 years, and he's a big salary cap hit. So the Chiefs parted ways with him today. They cut him, and as a result, they are now under the salary cap.
Yes,
I don't know about
that
how
was
much.
a $20 million
$20 million hit. Mm-hmm. So they move on from Jawan Taylor. The Royals, on the other hand, added a player, a really good veteran player that Bill, I found out that and you probably knew this, they've been trying to trade for or sign for the last several years. Starling Marte, who spent the last, 4 years with the New York Mets?
Yes.
He is a right-handed outfielder. He is 37 years old, but I think for a team like this, he's kind of like the way Raul Ibanez was when they brought him in 14 and 15. Yep. Starling Marte can hit. He's had a 14-year career. Like last year, for example, he played in about half the Mets games, but he made an impact.
Yes.
With a Mets team who didn't have a lot of young players. But I think that for the Royals, he's probably not going to start every day. But you know what? You've got young outfielders. Mm-hmm. You've got young DHs. If in case somebody gets hurt, but I think he's a good bat, and he'll be able to play platoon or come off the bench. So Starling Marte, I think, is a good addition for the Royals.
Well, and when they brought in Raul, you're talking about teams that were building up to a World Series. Yeah. He was. I think he was more important in the locker room because of all those young guys that were on the team.
I agree with you.
And when he got out of baseball, he went to work for the commissioner.
Right. Yeah. So don't you think this is a good?
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
It's not that big, huge bat they were looking for in the offseason, but you know what? They might have that in Caglione.
I hope so.
Or Carter Jensen.
Yes.
And those guys.
Everybody talks about Jack, but Carter Jensen's the guy I just can't wait to see play.
And I know it's spring training and the stats don't count. It's too bad because they're both hitting over 400.
I know. And Jack opened spring training with a 460-foot homer.
Yes. Yeah. So good signing by the Royals. Let's get an update on the Mavericks and the Comets. Things really don't change much for the Mavericks as far as the standings go. Comets is another story, but what's going on with the Mavs?
Well, the Mavs had won 26 of 27 games, and they lost back-to-back games to the Allen Americans. Now, here's the cool thing about the ways different teams and different coaches handle tough losses. A 4-3 loss and 5-2 overtime. Yeah. And a 5-2 loss on Saturday night, where the organization honored Special Olympians from Kansas. I'm talking to a friend of mine, and he brought his Special Olympian athlete to the game, and all this kid wanted to do was see hockey. He wanted to see a fight. 3 minutes into the game, man. I mean, it was center court, center ice. Yeah. Throw the gloves away, and everybody was going crazy. So after the game, many of the players came out and greeted a select group of Special Olympians, and Coach told his players, look, we didn't give them a win. Let's give them something special. And the players just came out in their undershirts and still had a lot of their gear on and just made these kids' lives. The kid kept telling Jack LaFontaine, their all-star goalie, this is the greatest night of my life, and Jack came over and asked him for a fist bump. Oh, man, if he'd have given him a Mercedes-Benz, the kid would have preferred that fist bump. So
And that's after 2 tough losses.
yeah, that's what I mean. I'm thinking, man, the players may be in there 45 minutes after the game and we don't get to talk to anybody, and the exact opposite happened. So they're fine. Wednesday night, the Mavericks have a home game, so they're going to get right back out, hit the ice after those losses. And none of the guys were negative. And Tad made a quote that I've never really heard it phrased quite like this. But he said, if you're not winning, you're getting an education. Well, he said we probably gained more from those 2 losses than we did from the 26 wins in that streak. So they got their heads on straight, and I know they're going to come back out and start another winning streak.
No doubt. How about the Comets now? I mean, Bill, every time before we do a show, I print the standings because it changes.
I know.
Every game, and the standings right now show San Diego Sockers are in first place.
See, and the last time we talked,
They were in fourth.
They were in 4th place,
Yeah.
and I think St. Louis was in first place.
But it's all about points.
Exactly.
So
3 points for a win.
and 1 for
An overtime loss.
Overtime loss.
Yes.
Okay, so San Diego 33 points, St. Louis 33 points, Milwaukee 32 points, Kansas City 31 points, and Baltimore out of nowhere since they've won 5 in a row, 30 points. So this thing is going to go down to the last game.
Well, here's the crazy thing about that too. The Mavericks or the Comets with 31 points. If those teams lose and the Comets win, there's 34 points and they're in first place again.
It's like I said, it's going to go down to the last. It's going
It
to go down
is.
to the last
Yeah,
game.
definitely.
It's going to go down to the last game. Let's talk about the other soccer team, Sporting KC. When they played their first game in Bill, they had like 2 shots on goal, but it didn't start good the other day in the home opener. But they came back and tied the Columbus Crew 2-2. Yeah. So that good for them.
Sure.
Well, let's see how this. It's a new everything, new
That's what I was
president, new GM, new coach, new
Everything.
players.
Right.
They traded away their best player,
Yeah.
Daniel Shalloway,
Yeah.
the day before the season starts.
Yeah, I don't follow them that
and
closely.
And they traded
but-
him for cash.
Oh, they did?
It was cash. It was like $700,000. So, and he's like one of the all-timers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
you put him Mount Rushmore of Sporting
Shalloway
KC.
will be up there.
And
Yeah,
he'll
he'll definitely be on it, but
Yeah.
he's gone. We don't talk a lot about car racing here, but NASCAR, there was a big deal that happened in NASCAR. That one of the new stars is Tyler Reddick. He won the first 2 races. I take that back. He's won the first 3 races.
And guess who he drives for?
Michael Jordan. Did you see the pose?
Yes.
They did the pose of doing the 3-peat.
Yes.
And Mike was there, and things are going pretty good for Mike. His team is winning, which he's got good drivers. He's got obviously has good engine builders.
Yes.
And they kind of won the monopoly lawsuit. He was happy with that. But this is the first time a NASCAR Cup Series driver has won the first 3 races. I mean, you think about all the legendary guys, and this kid is the first one to do it.
I know it. That's pretty cool.
So that's a neat thing. Let's move along. Music and entertainment news brought to you by our friends at Vito's Original Pizza.
Had lunch there today?
Yeah, imagine that. And you and I had lunch there a few days ago, and we need to bring Tom with us and go do it again soon. We encourage you guys to go. Vito's is a wonderful place,
Just
Italian food in Blue Springs, Missouri. So let's start with this. Hulu is revealing a reboot of another 90s, I think it was 90s. Yeah, 90s television show. Were you a fan of the X-Files?
Yeah, I was.
Did you?
I enjoyed it.
Well, it's coming back.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. The X-Files is it's not the story of Jeffrey Epstein, but it's gonna be it's going to be cast as a sci-fi reboot, written by a guy that did you see the movie Sinners?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy that did that, Ryan Coogler. It's going to see two FBI agents form an unlikely bond when they're assigned to a long-shuttered division devoted to cases involving unexplained phenomena. So,
Ooh, that sounds right up my alley.
it's why I brought it up. So that's what's going to be. So that's coming back. A couple of new movies. I would assume you're a Tom Hanks fan. Is there anybody?
Who isn't? Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to play the next role, Abraham Lincoln. There's going to be a movie with Tom Hanks.
Really?
Abraham Lincoln. I don't picture him as.
Boy, that's going to be hours in the makeup chair.
Oh yeah.
You know, Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, he nailed it. That to me is Lincoln for the rest of my life.
That was really, really good. And another movie. You're familiar with Lily Collins? I think
singer?
No, she's an actress. I think when you see her picture,
Okay.
she's really good. She's going to do a movie about the making of Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, she's going to play Audrey Hepburn?
Yeah, she's going to play Audrey Hepburn. So you got
Wow.
Tom Hanks doing Lincoln and Lily Collins doing Audrey Hepburn. That should be really good.
I like stuff like that.
Yeah. Sad news this week. I was sad to see the Robert Carradine
Yeah.
passed away. He, about our age, early 70s, 71 years old. That Carradine family, I don't know how many of them there were. And
he was the king of the nerds, man.
The Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony,
Yeah.
he grew up watching that movie. Those guys, Revenge. He was the guy with the goofy laugh.
That's right. That's right.
And his brother was the kung fu guy.
Yeah. David Carradine.
David Carradine, who committed suicide. He hung himself.
Yeah.
And we find out now that Robert Carradine committed suicide.
I know. That's
and
sad.
he hung himself.
Yep.
Man, it's like, that's tough.
I know.
That's a tough deal.
Mental health, get help. If something's going on, get help.
Call the suicide hotline.
Yeah,
Seriously.
call a friend.
Call the
anybody.
suicide hotline. You could call it 24/7. You can text it. It's 988.
Yep.
I mean, we all know 911 by heart. 988 is the suicide hotline. Yeah. Also, one of the early, I guess you could say, rock and rolls, Neil Sedaka died this past week.
Yeah.
Breaking up is hard to do,
baby.
But he lived a good long life. He was
he did.
He was 86 years old. When you think of the Grand Ole Opry in country music, you think of you think of the classics, the Loretta Lynn's, but of course they let in a new class or people every year.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that the next member to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry would be Jelly Roll. Don't shake his head.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
He's won some Grammys and he's won some other stuff, and
that's by your peers. I mean, that's a big freaking deal. And he wasn't on my bingo card.
I don't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I think a lot of us say, I don't know about this too. And that's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So
forget about that now.
I know we're going to get into a discussion about this, and you guys feel free to leave your comments about any of this because we love
because there are
those.
a lot of comments
so
on that.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced the nominees. This is to be like not the finalists, but they
Right.
What is it, 10 or 15, whatever it is.
I think 17.
So they here they are: Phil Collins,
Yes.
Billy Idol, Iron Maiden. Those are all rock acts.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
The Black Crowes.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for me.
I like them a lot.
Okay, also nominated Mariah Carey,
See, where does that come from?
Melissa Etheridge, Lauryn Hill, New Edition, Pink, Sade, Shakira, Luther Vandross, and the Wu-Tang Clan. So, and I guess NXS was which that's a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't they just call this the Music Hall of Fame?
Yes.
And I'd be good with it.
Oh, I'd be good with any of those going in.
Wu-Tang Clan and Sade. I mean, that's all good.
It's great music,
stuff,
but it's not rock and roll.
That's not rock and roll. Mariah Carey's about as much rock and roll. It's. I don't know. I don't understand it. Yeah, year after year.
Well, for years, I was furious that Todd Rundgren never got inducted.
Yeah.
When he finally did, he's like, screw you, and he has nothing to do. I couldn't believe it when I heard this week Styx isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall.
Styx is. You know who else isn't in? Boston.
You're kidding.
Don't look back. Boston's not Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Oh, Randy Bachman.
What about Bryan Adams? How many hits did he have?
I know.
Grand Funk.
Grand Funk's not in?
They're not in. Jethro Tull. Okay, so if you're going
and we're talking about Mariah Carey going in and Jethro Tull's not in.
So if you're going to let Mariah Carey in, how about a guy that was one of the greatest guitar players of all time, had a wonderful television career, a big country music star, and played in the Beach Boys. Now you know who I'm talking about.
I do know who you're talking
That's Glenn
about.
Campbell.
Glenn Campbell.
He's not in.
Is he in the country Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
I used to love his show. Man,
I'm telling you, he's one of the best guitar players ever.
Yeah.
But those are. I mean, did
I
I
disagree
miss any?
with so
you guys,
much.
I mean, is there anybody that I missed that you guys that But I don't know. Should it? I just remember Dolly Parton.
And for the rock and roll,
and she said, "I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
So
they put her
so
in.
what did she do? She recorded an album with all rock and roll guys.
Yes.
She goes, "If you're going to do that, I'm going to do this."
Yeah, it was great.
So, to validate it, but I just don't know about that.
Well, and I mean, you're not going to see the Beatles in the R&B Hall of Fame.
No.
I just don't understand the criteria, but Music Hall of Fame, yes. Totally agree.
I'm waiting for Tex Ritter and that song that we had last week to get in. So,
tell him. You got to tell him. You set it up.
Hit her in the shitter by Tex Ritter. So, moving on. But I do have to say this. I saw this on TV, and I was so freaking happy and excited. You know who's back? Stay thirsty, my friends.
Is he really?
Yeah. Remember, he got into a big-ass argument or something with Dos Equis?
Yep.
And I was like, F them, because I'll never drink that stuff again.
Yeah.
I just love that dude. I don't know why, but I want that on my tombstone.
Yeah.
And he's not Hispanic. He's actually Jewish. His name's Jonathan Goldsmith.
Oh no, you're kidding.
and if you guys know, what I'm talking about, what the hell is the most interesting man in the world?
Yeah.
I saw a commercial of him last night.
Wow.
And I was like, I went nuts. I love those commercials. And his teeth are all wisdom teeth. It's the most interesting man in the world.
Oh, man.
All right, let's move along. Some food news this week. You go to Burger King?
I do.
That Burger King's got good burgers. So an AI chat box is going to be live in the headsets by the people that work at Burger King. And it's in the this little chat bot's called Patty. Is the name. You guys are
Great name.
You guys are both shaking your heads. And what it's all about is to compile information from franchisees and guests on how to measure friendliness. Yeah. So, so now they're training their people to use certain words and phrases such as the simple ones like please and thank you. And then they'll do the same things from their customers. If customers say please and thank you, and at 2:30 in the morning, hey, is there anybody there? So,
yeah.
We're going to find out about Burger King. And I've seen this a couple of times this week that, man, Papa John's they're closing 300.
300, yeah.
I mean, there's not gonna be very many of those left, I don't think, right?
God, and I remember when he was the top sponsor of a Super Bowl. Bill,
I went to a NASCAR race here in town many years ago, and we got passes. I mean, the drivers' passes and things. And Papa John's was sponsoring one of the races, and he was back there. But he was, chasing women and signing autographs, and like, hey, Papa, all that shit.
Yeah.
But and he he got booted off the board, right?
Yep,
Wasn't it for?
he did.
Did he make? I don't remember what it was, so I don't want to speak out of turn.
I think I remember, but I don't
Was
want
it
to say if
racist
I
or
wasn't.
sexist
I
comments or
think it was along those
again,
lines.
if
yeah.
I'm wrong, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I think he got booted off the board, but they were able to keep. He was able to have them keep the name and
Right,
took a
right.
buyout or whatever like that. But speaking of pizza, I did not know this, but I guess this is a true story. Whenever the United States military gets involved in an action, for example, what just happened in Iran, orders of pizza by the Pentagon to the Pentagon go through the roof.
Really?
Yes, there is a website. It's called the Pentagon Pizza Report. It's an account on Twitter that tracks activity of local pizza joints right near the U.S. military hub. And
Wow.
Pete Hegseth said he's heard about it, so every once in a while he'll order 50 boxes of pizza for no damn reason to think people are doing stuff. But you know what? On June 12th, when we had that attack,
Right.
about 7 o'clock, 50 pizzas, please. The address, Pentagon. So. They may need to call Vito and have such shit.
Yeah, well,
some
yeah,
pizza shipped in or
absolutely.
something.
Ship it on dry ice and get it out to Pete Hegseth, the
And nobody will know.
Secretary of War.
And nobody will know.
That's right.
Because it's coming from Blue Springs,
That's
Missouri.
right.
Man, but speaking of this action that just took place,
Ooh.
see the gas prices today? On the way here to record this,
This morning, $2.49. I didn't get gas. $2.89.
try $2.99 everywhere. Yeah.
Oh man,
It was
yeah.
$2.59 this morning when I left.
Okay.
And I got in the car to come do $2.99.
Yeah.
What? And they said it's because of the Strait of Hormuz, where the shipping and
Right.
it's like, oh, man. And now the excuse we get every summer that they use that special blend for summer.
Yes.
You know what that is? Special blend.
Yeah.
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 Which
Special way to get your money.
that's exactly what it is. And so we're going to see, maybe, here in Missouri, for those of you that don't live in the state of Missouri, especially here in Kansas City area, we have among the lowest gas prices in the United States. I have, one of my best friends lives in Chicago. We talk about it all the time. Tell him, what's gas? I got it for a couple weeks ago, $2.29.
Yeah.
And he says, what? $2.29. I go, well, what's it in Chicago? He goes, $4. I said, oh,
See.
man. I said, Mike, you need to get out of there. Yeah. So, and I can't even imagine what it is in California. If we got anybody watching from California,
Let us know.
how do you know? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
So it's $2.99, knocking on the door at $3 here in KC.
Yep.
And when the special blend starts,
Yep. Here we go.
I think we're going to see that $3 again, which really sucks. But it's not just us now.
I know. Yeah.
Something that happened. You may have seen this or heard about this, but did you see we've all seen the commercials. Help! I'm falling and I can't get up. How about the 2 cars that fell in
that sinkhole?
In the sinkhole,
And just so happened to have a camera right. I mean, they were centered, and it looked like a scene from a movie.
and it was in Omaha, and I believe it was in Omaha, and they were at a stoplight, at a main intersection.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
I know.
I mean,
That was nuts.
yeah, it was Omaha, and you got trapped drivers. They had to make sure that cars down the street weren't.
Right,
But
right.
how do you know?
I know.
I mean, we know that we've heard of that kind of stuff happening in Florida. I know that they've had because of the the water levels
Right.
in the South and
Right.
Louisiana, but Omaha.
I know.
I mean, I don't know. That's pretty scary. The story that won't go away, the Epstein files. I'm so sick of hearing about it. And I know you're thinking, then what are you bringing it up for, Tone? Because this, people have been clamoring to see the names and want to know what they're doing. Well, of course, this Prince Albert McCann, or whatever his name is, Prince Andrew.
Andrew of Mountbatten.
Yeah, well, he's been batted out.
Yes,
he's not
he has.
part of the royal family anymore. But I guess we know, there was no speculation because he didn't even deny it, I don't think. And if he did, he didn't deny it for long that he had stuff to do with it. Well, so young women on this island were seen with someone you would never, ever think would be in that Epstein files.
Fred Rogers?
Now that's funny right there. I don't care who you are. No, it was Stephen Hawking. Yeah, don't look at me like that. Yeah. Not Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Hawking. Professor Hawking. Dr. Hawking.
Smartest man in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Hawking.
Yeah. Well, he was. He
God.
outsmarted some by going down there, I guess. So, and you can see it right here.
Hey, isn't that Stephen Hawking?
So he attended a gathering of 24 of the most prominent scientists in the world, and it was focused on how to reconcile Einstein's theory of general relativity with quantum physics. I know we don't know.
I didn't.
shit
Did you
about
get
that.
a call?
Yeah, from the Bank of Botswana that I won the lottery. But so he was there, and it's been corroborated because not only was it in the files, there's pictures, and as you see, and another scientist who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2019, he was there and had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes at the time. It was probably 6 months before all of it came out. But he says now that he believes that the young women that he saw there were victims.
Wow.
And so what's the other side of the story? Well, first of all, he was photographed with these two women. But according to, I don't care if you laugh at this or not because it's pretty damn funny. According to his family, these women were his caretakers in bikinis who traveled with him everywhere that he went. These are his caretakers. And he lived with that motor neuron disease for more than 50 years. He was completely paralyzed, in a wheelchair, unable to speak except through that computerized voice. So when they asked him about the two women there, he said,
"When I'm not rewriting the laws of physics, there's nothing I like better than tit and ass."
Oh, buddy.
Wow. God, I swear.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, and it's, look it up. It's true. His family said that those were his caretakers. All right. We do this every week, Billy. We got recalls. This one is kind of more in the norm. Recall about Fords. I drive a Ford, and if you drive a Ford, and it's about a thing called the ITRM. It's the integrated trailer module. So if you got a trailer a hookup, it can disable the trailer lights and in some cases trailer brakes, which could be a problem. But it's F-150s, F-250s, the Ford Maverick, Expedition. Just look it up, and if you haven't gotten a recall yet, as of yet, you probably will if you have a Ford truck.
Okay.
So that's going to come out. And again, another recall, and I'm not making this one up either. You think I make this shit up? I know you do. You ask me where I get this stuff. This is
right here is where you get it.
No, stop it. This is right up your alley because you were a journalist.
Exactly.
I mean, you wrote the 10 Commandments, so that's how long you've been doing this stuff, and the Associated Press. That's where I get see the bylines. Associated Press story, nationwide recall being issued for chocolate syrup found to contain Viagra ingredients. You think that's funny? The name of the syrup? Swear I'm not making this up. Boner Bears chocolate syrup. Boner Bears chocolate syrup found to have undeclared Viagra ingredients. The FDA says that the ingredient, which is found in Viagra, can interact with, I can't get through this, with nitrate found in certain prescription medications. It can also, it can be dangerous. It could lower your blood pressure unexpectedly. So if you've got any Boner Bears chocolate syrup, you better.
I have a case in my kitchen.
I'm just going to say you better get into that pantry there, bro. And you will get a refund by the makers of Johnson & Johnson. Wow. So we remember when we did the story, one of our very first shows, we did the story of the license plates.
Oh, yes.
So it's an old, this is our legal news of the week. An old guy like us in Long Island is appealing directly to the Governor Kathy Hochul, for help to keep his license plate, which he's actually had for a few years. But now the DMV says you cannot use PB4WEGO.
P before we go.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's not that bad, is it? It's a 70-year-old dude. He says, I didn't mean to offend anybody. It's kind of clever. It's kind of comical.
Yeah.
And so he's hopeful that the governor will say, that's fine. You can use that. So I'm going to go ahead and submit the letters EFFEWE. You don't get it? EFFEWE? FU? If you don't get it, maybe our governor won't get it either. All right, let's move along to some. Oh, gosh. Why we did those stories right before we're bringing on our special guest.
I know.
You guys are in for a treat for our special guest. All right, our special guest today is joining us right now. She is from Kansas City area, but she wears so many hats. She's only wearing one today, which you'll see in just a second. She's a professional speaker. She's a writer. She's an actress. She's a incredible storyteller. We're going to find that out here in just a little bit. She is a minister. I'll stop right there and then let her tell you the rest. She is the Reverend Sandra Campbell. Sandra, thank you so much for coming in today. Bill and I are really excited to meet you and talk with you.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Bill. Absolutely. This is an honor, truly an honor. Thank you.
So I said you wear so many hats. You're wearing an Indianapolis Clowns hat. Bill and I do know this because we were just at the Negro Leagues Museum filming a show a couple of weeks ago, the Indianapolis Clowns. But tell us why you're wearing this uniform and that cap.
I learned about this phenomenal woman from two members of my church. They had come to see my performance of Fannie Lou Hamer at the American Association of University Women's Conference last year, and they had never seen me perform. And the next Sunday, Rob says, "You need to meet Toni Stone." I said, "Well, where is she?" He said, "Well, she's a character for you." And I go, "Well, I'm too busy." He says, "Well, you need to find out about Toni Stone." And he's affiliated with the Negro Leagues, and he worked for the Kansas City Star for 44 years and very, very much into history. Yeah. And the next Sunday, this cap came to church. I was trying to get out of it, actually, because I thought I have too much to do to write another. But once he gave me the cap, I thought, okay, now I got to do this. So, and I got fascinated learning about this woman who always wanted to play baseball. And everything was against her. And even her family. This was not a girly girl sport. Play softball with the girls. She tried that. It was too slow. Yeah. She wanted to play. She played in the sandlots of St. Paul with the boys. The boys hated playing with her because she was really that good. She won every sport. She won honors for every sport in high school, including golf.
Where was she from?
She was originally from Bluefield, West Virginia. That's where she was born. But when she was 10 years old, her family moved to St. Paul, to a little neighborhood that was a black neighborhood called Rondo. Okay. Mm-hmm. So bring it forward, because her story is just incredible. She actually, if I'm correct, is she still the first professional baseball player? Female baseball player ever? Yes.
I mean, I don't think anybody followed her up, did they?
They did. Oh,
did
yes.
they really follow
yes.
her? Well, tell the story about how she got on the team and the rest of the journey.
Okay. Her parents wanted her to be a girly girl. And she didn't want to be a girly girl. She said in an interview in 1991, if the good Lord calls me home, I just want to play baseball.
Wow.
She said, I was one of those crazy kids that just wanted to play baseball. So the parents went and talked to their priest and tried to talk the priest into talking her out of playing baseball with the boys. And the priest, last name is Keefe, I believe, O'Keefe, he talked to her for a long time, and he found out that's really her passion. That's really her passion. So what he did was he connived a scheme to convince her parents to let her play on the Catholic boys team for the church. So since it was for the church, they agreed, and since the priest said so, they agreed. That's how she started.
And what year is this?
That was about I want to say somewhere in the early 30s. Early 30s. She was born in 1921.
So had she ever gone to see any of the Negro Leagues baseball games with either her parents or sneaking in herself or
She
whatever?
went to see the Indianapolis Clowns.
So she did go to see the Clowns.
Yes. And it was the manager, well, first of all, Hank Aaron played for the Indianapolis Clowns.
Yep.
Okay? And then Hank Aaron went on to Major League and played for the Milwaukee Braves.
Right.
So she was bold enough to approach the manager of the Indianapolis Clowns and say, hey, can I take Hank's place? And she had a reputation. So even the Indianapolis Clowns had heard of Toni Stone.
Wow.
Okay? So they let her play. They hired her on. Now, according to what I've read, they exaggerated her age. They made her younger than she was.
Well, that still goes on with Latin American players, but we'll leave it alone.
And they made the money that they were paying her a lot more than what it was. But she ended up playing for the Indianapolis Clowns in 1953. And in 1954, the Kansas City Monarchs bought her contract.
How good a story is that?
It's amazing, and I consider myself somewhat of a historian of both Major League Baseball, the Negro Leagues, and now it's wonderful that they're combined.
Mm-hmm.
And the great players back then, so many were forgotten until Bob and Buck O'Neill opened the museum. But in 2 years, she hit 243.
Yes.
She got a base hit off Satchel Paige.
I heard.
And I was talking to Tony before the show, and I said, can you imagine the ribbing he got when he went back to the dugout after giving up a hit to a girl?
I bet he never brought that up.
Oh, no, no. Sandra, has this part of the journey in your life been something, somewhat unexpected, but has it just made your life better because you can share these great stories?
I love storytelling, and I think it brings people that we never got to meet in history, and much of their history has been lost except for storytelling. Yeah. So I love storytelling. I've always loved. I love to listen to good stories, and most of all, I like to see the story come to life. So that's what inspires me: is dressing up in the period costume.
Let's look. Let's get
Okay.
a little fashion show here.
I'm gonna try.
There we go.
Oh, man.
Thank God for Amazon.
Yes.
Oh, that's...
So I didn't have a belt, so I'm going to get another something so I can use a belt. But I was going to come up with one and have it printed, but I didn't have time.
Yeah.
So maybe if I continue to do this, I'll have one with her uniform, her
There
replica.
you go.
But the hat, of course, was a gift. She said when she was first interviewed, how did she do this? She said, I got me a glove from the Goodwill. Wow. This came from the thrift store. A friend brought it to me at Spark when I performed last week.
This is about as authentic as it's going to get, right?
And I have my bat from the garage. And I have to give kudos to my husband. This is how he chases the little dogs out of our garage when he's out cutting the grass and the garage door's open. He said, take that bat out of the garage. I had to clean it up. And it's a T-ball bat, a Louisville Slugger.
That's right. There you go. There you go.
Sandra, I wanted to ask you because you do one-woman shows.
I do.
It. So have you done one on her yet?
I did a brief, little short, because I'm still learning her story.
Okay.
I haven't committed everything to memory. So I did a little brief skit for Spark, which is UMKC's program for seniors, this past Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. And I was amazed at the response. And so each time I do it, I'll build on my knowledge of her. I did get some questions I couldn't answer yet. That's the danger.
No, that's good. So do you have plans to do this in a bigger production?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
maybe- I figured you did. I mean, you weren't going to come
It's
looking like
gotta be
this without
told.
doing that way, right?
Yeah.
No, it really does
I grew up
need-
in Kansas City, Kansas.
It does-
My mother was a huge Royals fan. Bless
Yeah.
her heart, rest her soul. She died at 101. She would not miss a Royals game
It's
on
so
TV,
good.
That's
even
my
at
mom.
100.
That's-
At 100. And she knew the game like the back of her hand. She said, as a little girl growing up in southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, they played softball every Saturday. They didn't have a lot of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So they played softball. So baseball was her life. And she would be there screaming and yelling. Perez was her favorite. But anyway, she'd be screaming and yelling. She was having a good time. I never learned the sport. I was not a sports girl. I was, I was more into writing and writing stories and talking
Yeah.
about boys, that kind of thing. And so, but my mother was truly a baseball fan. So I honor her by portraying Tony Stone.
Okay,
And I
let's-
wish she had gotten to know Tony Stone.
How did this all begin? Not per se with Tony, but how did your first reenactment or your first storytelling take place?
I worked for the Federal Aviation Administration, from which I retired after 42 years of government service in 2012, right before I finished ministerial school. And every year we would have an observation, special emphasis, like Women's History Month, this month in March. And back in, what year was that, 1995, Bessie Coleman, her postage stamp was being released. And there was a big event at the Women in Aviation International Conference in St. Louis. My job as public affairs officer was to accompany then Deputy Director of the FAA in Washington to glad hand, all hands meetings with all of our people, the towers and the facilities in St. Louis, and prepare the press briefings. And I belonged to Women in Aviation, so they asked me at the last minute, none of Bessie Coleman's family could be there. Would I mind standing in for her? I knew this much about Bessie Coleman. I knew she was a black woman who flew an airplane before black women were flying airplanes. I knew she was the first black female pilot, airplane pilot. But that's it. When I stood in for her that evening at this big event, huge black tie event, I started crying. The tears just started rolling. I thought, I grew up in Kansas. I can tell you anything about Amelia Earhart. And I went to all black schools. I never heard of Bessie Coleman. So I decided at that moment, I ran a program called Aviation Education, where we go out to schools and teach them everything about aviation to build the workforce for the future, starting with kindergarten. And I said, the next time I'm asked to speak at a school, a baccalaureate or whatever, I'm going to talk about Bessie Coleman.
Good for you.
11 months went by. I had 2 books, never read them, and I got a desperate call from a principal of one of our partner schools. And she said, we need a speaker tomorrow because we have a Black History program and our speaker had an emergency and the kids are all looking forward to it. And they were losing the kids because, a lot of the kids were not, there's truancy and low grades, low test scores. And so she said, you're always good about bringing the flight simulator and engineers and pilots and medical people, everybody. And almost every day I had somebody at one of the schools we partnered. And I said, okay. And when I hung up the phone, I thought, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be Bessie Coleman. I started arguing with myself. I can't be Bessie Coleman. I haven't read a thing. So that night, I called the Kansas City Costume Company. They put together a costume for me. I went over there, picked it up. On my way home, when I got home, we had twins. The twins are now 30, so this has been 30 years ago, twin granddaughters. And they were all living in our house. And it was a small house in Hickman Mills, and it was noisy. And I told everybody after dinner, I'm going to lock myself in my room with my little laptop. I'll come out, don't disturb me. And I wrote 40 pages of notes based on 2 books and my grandpa's storytelling. My grandpa was an amazing storyteller in Arkansas. And so based on that, I wrote this story, and then I appeared the next day before 7th and 8th graders, about 300 of them, and the principal had told me that these kids right here on the front row always misbehave. They don't go 5 minutes into a speaker before they start clowning. So we hope it won't disturb you, but we've got teachers on each end. They're going to escort them out. And I decided, I don't like labels. They said they were the BD kids, the behavior disorder. Right there, the bulb went out in my head. I go, okay, I know what to do. So I had to be on the stage. I like to be down on the level with everybody, but I was on the stage. So I would lean forward to the BD kids, and I'd say, who can in Bessie's Southern drawl, who can tell me who the first woman flyer was? And somebody will say, one of the BD kids, Amelia Earhart, give that boy a purple jelly bean. And I have the jelly beans. And I had a little girl with a little helmet and goggles. She was to give out the jelly beans because I couldn't get off the stage. And because that child answered that question, all the other ones stopped clowning. Yes. Because they wanted to get a jelly bean.
Sure.
So I asked a question about the Wright brothers, who made the first successful flight. So it's interactive, and it's a hook. So I knew if I was going to make this story come to life, number one, I got to be the character, not narrate. I got to make you think I am Bessie Coleman. And number two, I need a hook. Well, when I was in the 6th grade, it was my first male teacher. His name was Reginald Buckner. He became Dr. Reginald Buckner and on the Minneapolis Symphony and taught in Minneapolis, but he's graduated from Sumner High School like I did years before I did, and he used to say that. So if somebody worked an algebra problem on the board, he would say, give that boy or that girl a purple jelly bean. He never gave us the jelly beans, but I never forgot that. So that was my hook, and they now call me the purple jelly bean lady.
Okay, so you did that starting with those kids, but that show was produced and televised on PBS.
It was.
So I'm going to make you blush a little bit here. And didn't you perform that in Washington, D.C. at the
Everywhere.
Smithsonian? I know, and overseas. Didn't you go to Paris?
Paris, yeah.
I thought so.
It's in Jet Magazine. One of the last Jet magazines featured 40 black women of different careers, airline pilots, inspectors, air traffic controllers, every career you can think of in not just FAA, but in business, corporates. And we all went over there because it was the 10th year of the Bessie Coleman Foundation, or Aerospace Foundation. And so we wanted to pay homage to those that gave her that opportunity. And that museum, L'École d'Aviation des Frères Caudron, is the flying school of the Caudron brothers. It became a museum, Musée d'Aviation des Frères Caudron. And so there's a whole section, all in French, all about Bessie Coleman, more than our country ever focused on her. Yeah.
My life got so much better when I met you a couple of times ago.
Both of us.
And don't tell your husband, we got a little bit of a crush.
Yeah.
So you're pretty special.
He needs competition.
We do.
You go from aviation to, and this one really fascinates me, Kathy Williams, the first and only female
Buffalo Soldier.
What was her story?
And that was because of the FAA. So once they found out I did this, it was like they'd pull me out of the office and go, hey, the theme for Women's History Month is the Civil War. Or the theme for Black History Month is Civil War. What can you do? And it just so happened, a woman I met in Oakland, California, was making T-shirts and other things of Bessie Coleman, and she sent me a Hallmark card in the mail and said, you got to see this. And on the front of that card was Kathy Williams. And I was like, who's Kathy Williams? And the back talked about her as a Buffalo. Oh, I got to tell this story. So I wrote the story, and a friend helped me put together. She went to thrift stores and helped me build this little costume. And Kathy Williams was a slave in Independence, Missouri.
Really?
Yes, she was born in 1844.
Wow.
And her father was free, and he couldn't buy his family's freedom. She and her mother and siblings were sold to a William Johnson plantation near Jefferson City. And when the Union soldiers came through, they told them they were free. It was 1861. The war wasn't over until 1865.
Right. Yeah.
So they were trying to recruit some help, right? Free labor. So Kathy was 17. They recruited her to serve with General Sheridan's men up in the Shenandoah Valley. They were protecting the Capitol. She sees something. She goes on a paddle boat up the Atlantic. For the first time, she sees something that she's never seen before, right? Imagine that. Now, it's scary. She's scared. She's hearing cannons go off at night. She's hiding away. And so when the war ended, she was washing and cooking for them. And when the war ended, she came back to Missouri, and she didn't have any means of support, nothing. Her brother and a friend were enlisting in one of the 6 colored regiments that the Native Americans later called the Buffalo Soldiers. Mm-hmm. And Kathy Williams was 5'9". She cut off her hair, and she enlisted as William Kathy. Now let me say this. My husband's military, so I understand last name comes first, right? Sure. It's possible that was a typographical error. I don't know. Oh. They could have just reversed the name, William Kathy, right? Yeah. However it went, for 2 years, Kathy Williams served as William Kathy with the Buffalo Soldiers until she got smallpox, and they did a thorough examination. I have a big enlargement of her enlistment and her discharge papers, and her discharge paper says, honorable discharge with a disability. Still think being a woman is a disability. My God.
And that
When will that change?
that was also done on PBS. Am I right?
No, I haven't
that-
done
you
Kathy
haven't done
Williams.
that? You haven't done
Somebody
Kathy
did
Williams?
Kathy Williams, but I didn't.
About
I
time.
was
What's
asked.
took you so long?
Let me
Let's
tell you
go.
what I was asked.
Yeah.
And my friend MC, who owned the MC Players,
Yeah.
he said, "How tall are you?" He called me on the phone. I said, "I'm 5'3.5". Oh shoot. Kathy was 5'9".
Oh.
So he wanted me to play Kathy Williams, but I wasn't tall enough. I do it anyway. I do it on my own.
And you did. I know you did a civil rights activist too, Fannie
Yes,
Lou.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what she
Sick
said.
and tired of being sick and
Yeah.
tired.
my
Tell us
gosh.
about that one.
Fannie Lou Hamer was from Ruralville, Mississippi, a little town that they say is still the most underprivileged town in the country. And during when the civil rights movement first started and they were trying to get black people the right to vote, she heard a speaker who was a friend of Dr. King at her church trying to recruit young people, because if they could get the young people, then the older people who were afraid might go try to vote. She liked the idea. She didn't even know black people could vote, so she goes down with a group. They go on a bus to Indianola, the capital, and they had to count the number of bubbles on a bar of soap. They had to recite the preamble to the Constitution. She only had a sixth grade education, and they hadn't learned the Constitution, so they were denied. So they got together, found somebody who had a copy of the Constitution. They studied it. They went back. When they went back, the plantation owner where she and her husband, Pap Hamer, and her family lived and worked, found out that she was trying to register to vote and fired her and her husband and made them move off the plantation. They were being threatened, so they went to a neighboring farm, a family farm, and a brick was thrown through their window. They went someplace else. A cross was burned in their yard. So they were on the run. Fannie Lou was outspoken, although she was not very literate as far as speaking, but she was wonderful. She quoted scripture all the time, and she sang, "Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, journey to freedom land." And so she led people. She was captivating. And then finally, she was with the field secretary for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
SCLC, yeah.
Yeah. And so the Democratic Party was segregated. They didn't have black people in the Democratic Party. The Democratic National, it's been reversed. It was segregated. So they didn't have black people represented. And Dr. King and someone else got in touch with somebody on the credentialing team, and they gave them permission to come and speak at the Democratic National Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey in 1964. Wow. Well, she spoke, and it was like all three networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, covered the whole thing. And word got to the Capitol, to President Johnson, that they were covering Fannie Lou Hamer, telling the story about her bloodshot eye. She had a patch over her eye. She had been hit in the head with a billy club just trying to vote. They had all kinds, if you hear the whole story. And so she was telling how bad things were. Well, Johnson had the Voter Rights Act. It's never a bill. It can be eliminated any time. He had the Voter Rights Act on his desk, but he was running for his second term in office.
Right, that was the first election after President Kennedy was assassinated. Didn't he run against? Was that Barry Goldwater?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
And so he had that on his desk, but he didn't want to sign it too soon because he'd lose the white Southern vote. Well, people were being lynched while he was holding on to this to the vote.
But Sandra, was the Civil Rights Act hadn't passed yet either.
No.
It had not passed.
No. So they're doing all this and to keep them from knowing what was going on.
Okay.
When the Democratic Convention found out the truth, this is really happening, then they covered her, but guess what Johnson did? You remember a long time ago, you say, we interrupt this broadcast for an emergency message from the President of the United States, right? Well, he said, I want that illiterate colored gal off the TV. I'm calling a press conference. The cameras kept rolling on Fannie Lou.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, and he signed the act. He signed the act.
That's a great, great story. That's.
What I love is getting into character. I just use my imagination and try to imagine if I were that person, how would I appear? Mm-hmm. How would I convince people that I was that person. You know, Bessie was from Texas, so luckily my family from Louisiana, I know how to put on a little bit of a drawl.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's what makes these people come to life, is to actually get into the character.
Of course. So that brings me to this. I mean, I hear them going through my head. We're talking about a few here, but there are so many influential black women, even in the course of our lifetimes. But is there a couple or one or two or three that you haven't done that you really want to do? Rosa Parks.
You're putting more work on her shoulders.
I know, but she's so good. That's why. I'm just like,
I don't know. You know what's going to happen is somebody like you or Rob at church is going to say, you know, you need to do Tony stuff.
I'm telling you right now, I'm going to have a list. I'm going to have a list before you get home tonight.
I bet you will. And I can't say no because
you got to do Maya.
Oh, Maya Angelou, yeah. I knew Maya. In fact, I was in Dayton, Ohio, with a dear friend who flew United. She flew the Airbus, Connie Tobias. And Connie she reenacts Harriet Quimby, who was the first woman in the United States to get a pilot's license. Right. So Connie and I decided to team up, and we went to Dayton. And Blair Conrad was the aviation department manager, and he was a really good friend of Connie. And Oprah and Maya, we went to schools. I bet we did 4 schools in one day. The two of us. She was Harriet, I was Bessie. I came after Harriet, Bessie came after. So Oprah and Maya were speaking. It was some kind of reading program to encourage kids to read, and they were the keynote speakers at this big event. Blair, I didn't know this at the time. Now Blair's passed on, but Blair had a lot of connections, and so during Oprah's presentation, she said, and I want to give a special thanks to Connie Tobias and Sandra Campbell, because what they're doing is making reading more interesting to children when you bring the stories to life. And I'm sitting in the balcony going, I like that. But we did take this picture. Blair had us take a picture with a real blurry camera. You can barely see us, but Maya's sitting in the middle, and Connie's on one side, and I'm on the other. She also came to Unity Temple many years ago, and she grew up in a town called Stamps, Arkansas. Well, my family are from all over the place. The first black elected official of Hope, Arkansas was my grandmother's nephew, my mother's family, and they're all from Louisiana originally, and where they're from, Strong, Arkansas, just a stone's throw from Marion, Louisiana, where my dad's from. And so my cousin Ada, who was my grandfather's niece, lived in Kansas City, Kansas, in Rosedale. Yeah. She and Maya's mother were best friends. And I didn't know all that until my cousin Ada happened to mention she had heard that Maya Angelou was going to be in town. And she said, please tell her hello for me, because, you know, I was good friends with her mother and watched her grow, her grandmother, and watched her mother, it was her grandmother, and watched her grow up. Yeah,
Maya Angelou. I was thinking that there's another a black woman that I've always just admired, and she's more recent, is Condoleezza Rice.
Oh yeah,
I think you.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that, because I didn't know who Condoleezza Rice was when she was Secretary of State.
Really?
Right? My husband's from D.C. Okay. So my sister-in-law, his oldest sister, called me one day, and she says, do you know who Condoleezza Rice is? I said, yeah, I've seen her picture. She said, you look just like her. And so she...
Yep.
And I look, and I thought, yeah, you know,
right
kind of
on this
resemble.
one?
Yeah, kind of resemble. Yeah.
But I think so. All right, so you got me going. You know, I'm going to be texting you names. So you brought up Unity, and tell that story, how you got into ministry and all of that.
When I was 21, I was going through a very challenging time in my life. I was married really young. At the end of my high school year, I graduated with my class, and 6 months later, my daughter was at my graduation. She was 6 months old. She's now 57, so that shows you how old I am. And so I was in a marriage that I never should have been in the first place, you know. So when I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do, I was now pregnant with our second child. And I was crying in the restroom at work. I worked for General Services Administration out on Bannister, just crying my eyes out, like, God, please, why am I doing it? What can I do? And a lady comes into the restroom, and she looks at me, and then she leaves. And she comes back. And she says, I have, they always tell pregnant women, no matter how big your nose is and how, fat you look, they tell you how beautiful you are. Yeah. And so she said, you are just too beautiful to be in here crying. I don't want to get in your business, but are you a Christian? I said, yes. You believe in Jesus Christ? I said, yes. If I bring you a book, will you read it? I said, probably. She brought this book the next day called Hidden Power for Human Problems by Frederick Bales. And I had a 4-year-old. Tammy was 4 at the time, who's now 57. And so that night, I read that book. I come back to work, my eyes all red. She couldn't tell I did something that night. She says, when I give her the book back, she says, well, I wouldn't have wasted my time if I had known you weren't going to read it. And I remembered a few things I had read, and I quoted it.
Yeah.
She said, oh, my God, I've got something else for you. Where do you live? Now, she lived at Vineyard Gardens by the VA. Yeah. And I lived in western Wyandotte County, like 67th and State. Yeah. And I was big as a house. And she says, well, I want to take you somewhere, but I don't want you to drive. So would you be willing to go with me on a Wednesday? If I pick you up on Wednesday, give me your address and bring your daughter, and I want to introduce you to some people. So she brought me back to her neighborhood, and we walked up this 2 houses up, and there were all these people sitting in a circle in a family room. Mm-hmm. And later on, I learned Terry was with TWA. Okay. At some point, I worked for TWA.
They were like the biggest employer.
Yeah, he was an engineer. Yeah. And his wife, Jean Terry, was a registered nurse. And there were just different people in her neighborhood. And they were talking about Scripture in a language I'd never heard before.
So was it a Bible study group? Is that what it was?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah?
Yeah, prayer group. Uh-huh. And it was what, those saying the Chinese expression, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Right. Well, that was my ticket. Because, others had tried to tell me, my family were always saying, you need to get out of this. You're wasting your time. Nothing's going to change. So I was going to get a divorce, and then we'd go back together. And then I'm going to get a divorce, and then they'd be mad at me, and I'd pack up my stuff and my kids and go home, and I'd be mad. And you probably can't, I don't know if you can say a cuss word on a...
You can.
You can say... It's all
that's
good.
My thing, right?
That's all good.
Okay, so my brother was...
us.
I'm 11 years younger than my brother and 10 years younger than my sister. Oh. Everybody kind of babied me. Yeah. Well, my brother, and they knew I was a hard worker. I started working for the government at 19, and I never quit. Except I went to TWA, and then they had a strike, and I'm going back to government. Yeah. So anyway, my brother, we were in an argument about me and my bad marriage, and he was somewhere off in drugs, wherever in California. We didn't know where he was. And he'd come back, and I'd go back, and anyway. So my brother walks out the door with me, and he never would give advice unless you asked for it. He's kind of a soft-spoken. He was a detective. And he said to me, he said, you need to quit talking about what you're going to do. If you're going to do something, just do it, because we're getting tired of hearing it. And he said, and all you're doing, you're upset, they're upset, everybody's upset, and one day you're over here and the next day over there. So let them read about it in the paper. If you're going to get a divorce, get the divorce. They'll read about it in the paper. And the day you figure this out, you'll realize you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
That's right. That's it. And he was right.
He was right. And no matter how they sugarcoated it, that day, my big brother saying that, it's like, that click, you can stir it, it's still going to stink. And so my brother, years later, he said to me, I was 21. Yeah. He said, and I couldn't get the divorce till after I had the baby, because Kansas had a law.
Oh, yeah.
I was 21, and that's how I met my husband. So when I was getting my divorce, and I'm back at work, this good-looking Marine comes over to my desk, and he says, I like to see you in that yellow dress. That yellow dress from the maternity dress. Who in the world? Anyway, that's a long story.
He loved you.
He liked the yellow dress. What did you have? I said, I have a boy. I have a little girl, too. Oh, you got pictures? I'm like, what is wrong with this dude? Yeah. So anyway, that's how I started. But back to the story. So about a year later, my brother said to me, tell me how you made that decision at 21 to walk away from a bad marriage. And this is why he asked me. He said, there's a couple that fights all the time. Somehow I'm always the one that has to go out and take the guy out of the house, take him back. She goes and gets him out of jail. 6 months later, he said, I can set my watch back. I'm going to be going to their house, picking him up, taking him back. These are 50-some-year-old people. You were 21. And that's when I repeated what he said. He said, I said that? Because I never heard him curse. I said, yeah, you said that. I said, and that clicked.
It stuck. Yeah.
That's all I needed to hear. Because everybody else was trying to be nice, Sometimes you just got to hit that gut punch.
Do you ever take a moment to reflect on an amazing life that's impacted so many people?
You know what helps me? I hear that from people. They say, "Oh, I heard that you told that story and it changed my life." I used to go out to schools a lot, and even Vacation Bible School. And I was Miss FAA. So there was a young man who was in a Bible school with my son. My son is now 50. And Clifton Johnson, he was in Grandview High School. And he sent me an email about 10, 15 years ago. He was a pilot. He was a Navy pilot. And he said the first time he ever heard about aviation or knew that any black people had careers in aviation was when I came to his school with the flight simulator. And from that day on, he wanted to be a pilot. Then there was a young lady who worked with me. Her husband was stationed here for a short time. And Yolanda Bowden. And Yolanda came and was a secretary in another branch. And I was a manager in tech and admin support in FAA in aircraft certification. And so Yolanda and her husband got transferred to Germany. And I got an email from Yolanda one day, says, "Do you know everybody, even people all over the world?" I go, "No, I don't." They had dinner with a young black officer and his wife, an Air Force captain and his wife. And when they told them they had just come from Kansas City, and she told them she worked for the FAA, they called me Sandy. "Do you know Miss Sandy Campbell?" She said, "I worked with Sandy Campbell. Please tell her where I am and tell her it's because of her." Michael Godot. Michael Godot was in the 8th grade at Northeast Middle School when the Tuskegee Airmen chapter had a program with the Negro Airmen International Organization in Tuskegee. So the program was if you had at least a B average and you were up to like around 8th grade or so, they would send you down there for flight training. My son participated in that for about 2 weeks. And so I got a call from Colonel McGee, who was my mentor, Colonel Charles McGee. And Colonel McGee said, "Sandra, I know you work with a lot of kids. We want to sponsor a kid." And he told me the criteria, help us find. So I went to that school and I said, "Who do you recommend?" Michael Godot. Michael Godot was on his father's baseball team. This was a summer program, and it would be in the middle of the season. And Michael was one of his father's star players. Michael's father said, "Michael, this is an opportunity. I'm going to give you the choice." And Michael chose to go down there. It was Michael Godot that she met in Germany. He was an Air Force captain.
What a great story.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? There's no coincidences in
No.
life, is there?
No.
We talk about this almost with every guest we have
Exactly.
in here. And
Do you know, people tell you when you retire, you should kind of take about 6 months and do nothing.
I didn't.
I didn't either.
Neither one
I
of us
was at
did.
the Tuskegee Airmen. They're chapters. So because the Tuskegee Airmen are a dying breed,
Yes.
right? So they have the young people, sometimes they are family members, but some, like me, in different aviation fields, join the organization. So here we have the Heart of America chapter of Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated. Well, Brigadier General Leon Johnson, who I was introduced to by Colonel McGee years ago, and he was one who would come out to schools dressed in uniform and, that kind of thing. Well, Brigadier General Johnson, they had the Tuskegee Airmen chapter dinner at the Marriott in Overland Park, and I was there. And he said, "I am so glad, I had just retired." He said, "I am so glad to see you because our public relations office," you know what's coming. Our public relations officer is retiring she's resigning from the position, and I knew if we needed anybody, we need you. Now, this was a non-paid position, and I was everywhere, and I did some amazing things for 2 years, and my husband kept saying, "You retired on this much money to do this for free."
Yeah.
I don't get this. I said, "But it's fun. I love it." Well, after that last one, I worked my fanny off because I would give these people cameras to go around and take pictures of the events because a lot of the Tuskegee Airmen who wanted to be there were aging out. They couldn't come to the convention anymore. So I wanted them to have a day-by-day picture of everything that happened. So I put together a little daily newsletter and just wore myself out. We were in Orlando. And when I got back from that, I thought, this is kind of crazy. And so I resigned. And Brigadier General Johnson said, "Well, if we pay you $40,000, I said, I've been doing it for free. I've been doing it for free. If you pay me, what are you going to expect me to do? I won't be sleeping
You better
at
give
all."
me that 40 you owe me from last year.
So I said, Leon, I would love to. I have enjoyed myself, but I think this is for somebody who is either retired for a long time or they haven't. They got more youthfulness than I do. But I had a ball because there were incidents that occurred, and I was the one that had to help get the research. There was a man whose name was on a building in Texas who was not an original Tuskegee Airman. He had trained in Los Angeles, but he had told his family, and that happens a lot. And so they had to take his name off the building. And can you imagine
Did
the
they do
family
that?
was made?
They took
Yes, because he was not, it was named for him as a Tuskegee Airman.
Wow.
And I had to get in the middle of all that kind of stuff. So they're called DOTAs, in case you ever hear the word DOTA, Documented Original Tuskegee Airmen. You don't have to be a pilot. All you had to do is have trained and served at Tuskegee during World War II. But if you trained and served any place else, you're not a Tuskegee Airman. And I grew up with them and didn't know it. They don't talk about it. So I have friends whose father, my best friend in high school, I knew her father was a top-notch mechanic. Ducey always had a brand new Mustang, and if it broke down, her father was on it. And I thought, wow, that must be nice. Well, come to find out, Mr. Hawkins was a Tuskegee Airman. He was on the flight crew. He was the one that helped rebuild things. And yeah, but he never told us that.
That's a great story.
There are quite a few from Kansas City.
Okay, so Bill, we have to call Bob.
Yes.
And
Bob Kendrick,
there
president of the Negro League Museum.
who was our guest just a couple of, he had us as guests almost because we went to the museum, and there's a wonderful exhibit there that we were set up by. But I really think that I'm so convinced that they should do an exhibit of Tony's story. I really think that, wouldn't you agree that a full exhibit of that, and who else better than right here, to do whatever it had to do with, especially in this uniform, which is terrific.
Rob Dodson, who first proposed this idea to me, invited me to the reception when John Sharp was being honored. And I know Bob, but not as well as you all do, but he took me down there and he personally walked me around to everybody. She's going to do Tony Stone. I'm like, oh my God. And so he talked to Bob and Bob said yes. Right after that is when he fell.
Yeah. Well, Bob's going to see this, and he's going to what have I been doing? No, really. We're so glad that you came and spent this time with us. The two of us are starstruck. We really, I could probably speak for three of us, are starstruck. Thank you so much. Reverend Sandra, can I call you Sandy?
Yes.
Campbell, thank you for joining Bill and I. We really appreciate you.
I am so honored to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a godsend. Thank you.
Told you guys that would be a treat.
Amazing.
That's our friend Sandy, the Reverend Sandra Campbell. So we'll be back with another episode here in a few days next week. We're live from Sandy's Restaurant Studios. A reminder, you can watch our full podcast episodes. They're on YouTube, they're on Spotify, they're on Patreon. You can hook up with us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Like and subscribe. Leave comments. I think after this show, you might leave a few comments. But you know what? Leave them about Sandy, not the chocolate syrup. But no, I'm just playing. You guys can do that. And we'll be back with another episode of Bill and Tony's Excellent Adventure. He's Bill Althouse. I'm Tony Stevens. Y'all take care.
We'll see ya.